Okay, hello everyone. I'm Kayla, one of your professors at English Without Borders, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to a man named Yogi, someone from India who has worked really hard on his English and has a lot of great tips and recommendations to help you get where you need to be. If this is your first time watching one of our videos, here at English Without Borders, we offer a lot of free advice, tips, lessons, live videos on how to improve your English accent, your fluency, your confidence, and all of these great things because we believe that English accent or English education should be free for everyone. Okay, so really excited to have Yogi with us here today. Thank you for being here. So could you start off by telling everyone a little bit about yourself? Where do you currently live and what do you do for work? Oh, hang on, you're muted. Let me unmute you. Okay. Okay, there we go.
Yes, I'm audible, Kala. Yes, right. Well, thank you, Kala, for this opportunity. I'm from India. Specifically, I can say that I'm from Telangana. It's a state, and where I reside is from Hyderabad. Uh, I'm a senior project manager in one of the reputed IT organization. Where I mean, if you look at my entire career path, I started as a senior associate, where I see English communication is pretty much necessary at that point of time. So from there, it's been close to 14 years, and here I am now, currently working as a senior project manager in one of the IT company, where I see a lot of opportunities that are more specific to US market, more associated with US market. I can say the entire, if you start looking at the nature of business, what I'm into, we are more into payroll and benefit side of business. And also I work on the medical provider side of business. Am I audible, Kaila?
Yes, now you are. Yes.
Yeah. So that's more about me, Kaila. Apart from my this regular job, I also work on the stock market, where I deal more with the forex and Indian stock market. I play an advisory role, for which I mean a minimum subscription amount will be collected, but I provide my suggestions on the stocks and the forex.
Okay, wow, really interesting. So you've got some really amazing work opportunities that you've found for yourself in the past 14 years. So congratulations on landing some awesome work opportunities. That's amazing. So we'll talk a little bit more towards the end of the interview about how your English has helped you get to where you are. But right now I want to ask what it was like learning English when you were growing up. Is that something that you had in primary and secondary school? Or in university, or what was your relationship like with the English language when you were younger?
Yeah. English was, I mean, the kind of school which I was into, English was a primary subject for me. And apart from that, we do have a local language, I mean, the regional language, even that is primary, that was primary for us. But if you look at my relationship with English, I can say from grade one, we have started working more on the English. But only after my education that is more specific to schooling, I started working on my English and my accent. uh, I can say when I got selected in one of the company, I can say one of the organization, I can say there they gave us training specific to US English, how to pronounce few letters and how to communicate well with the US customers. I can say that was the base for me when it comes to English. All my schooling, though it was in English teaching school or English, the entire school more it was into English, where each and every subject would be taught in English, but we were not that confident or we were not that fluent in English when we were in schools. I mean, the schooling part. The moment we started stepping into college or the higher education, that's when we started learning the real English, because that's when we realized that English was pretty much necessary, or I can say it's a requirement for any kind of job that we need to, get into. Honestly, I can say one thing: name any company in India or any other organization in India, interviews will be conducted in English only. There is no other language people will be using when it comes to interview. Out of 100, I can say 99.9% is what people will communicate during the course of interview selection. People who communicate well are the ones who will get selected. I can say 50% of your selection process depends upon your communication. And the reason why I'm saying 50% is, if you know the subject, or if you know what exactly you're going to work for the next couple of years, and even if you're a subject matter expert in that particular work, if you cannot communicate well, there is no point in attending the interview, because you will not be in a position to explain what you will be doing for the next couple of years, unless and until you have a proper English or proper training that is there, which you are giving to many of people. That's nice thing. So we never had this kind of opportunity when we started. It's purely through watching English movies. I can say most of my childhood after was more into watching HBO Star movies, and I used to watch that movies, and you will have a citation. I can say each and every dialect what they use in the English movies, you will have a similar kind of word or explanation or some kind of words that will be there, which will be scrolling down the movie. I used to make a note of that, and from there I started learning English, actually, the US accent.
Okay, so you started working on the accent part more on your own. It's not something you necessarily got from school. And I love the part that you said about the communication being so important, because that's something I work on as a teacher. You can get as much grammar as you want, learn as much vocabulary as you want, but when it comes to your fluency and confidence, if you don't feel that you can naturally and confidently express yourself, no one's going to listen to the message you have to say. So it's so important to do this part and practice speaking and put in the work on your own to get there, because no one else can do it for you. And it's something that I think a lot of students struggle with, is realizing that that is the important part. Most of the time, if you have to use English, it's not to write an essay. It's to actually speak to someone face to face and relate to them. So I think it's great that you touched on that. That's a really good point. And so for you personally, what was the most difficult part about learning English? Like, one, if you had to pick one thing that you're like, that was so hard for me to learn, what was it?
One thing I can say, the number of words we use. Okay, if you, I can say, if you talk about English, there would be hardly 15 to 20 words we would be using on a regular basis. If you are good with that particular words on the pronunciation, I think we can make a lot of difference in your communication, because if you see the entire conversation, there would be hardly few words which I would be using repeatedly over a period, during this conversation. So looking at the words and understanding it was a major issue which I've gone through. And later part, confidence, which was too poor for me when I started, because when I started working on my English, it was said that we need to talk even with our family members, even with our friends, to practice. The more you practice, the more you get into this subject and communication or the English. We had very limited circle where I had an opportunity to practice that particular piece. So that's where I was a bit struggling. Out of my 9 or 10 friends whom I roam with, or whom I always hang out, um, I can say only 2 or 3 people who actually talk English. Remaining all are like, we go with the regular regional language, which is Telugu. So that was the major struggle, or strike point where I was going through the words, and as well as the proper partner to practice.
Okay, and so what did you do specifically to overcome that problem you had with confidence? What helped you the most to feel more confident speaking English?
I started talking to myself, standing before a mirror. Just I used to stare myself to the mirror, and I started talking to myself for a couple of minutes or couple of. I can say there was a point where I was supposed to give a presentation, so I had the presentation in my hand. I looked at the words, I looked at the sentence, and I thought I started building my own sentence so that I can talk to them directly, and I started practicing it for at least 2 to 3 hours. That
Mm-hmm.
was my first presentation. So I started to talk to myself, standing.
That's amazing.
So it looks.
That does so much for confidence. When I was learning Spanish, I did the same thing. When I was in the car on my way to work or on my way to school, or I was like alone in my house, I would just like speak my thoughts out loud to myself in Spanish. And people would probably think when I was driving in the car alone, like just talking out loud, they're probably like, this girl is crazy. but it does so much to make you feel confident. And I love that you exercised or you practiced writing or speaking your presentations there in front of a mirror, because you can see how you actually look and you can see how confident you appear. Whether you feel confident inside or not, you can have the appearance of feeling confident outwardly if you practice it enough. So I think that's awesome. That's a great tip for other non-native speakers to take away from what you did to get such a high level of English now. So what was it like to have to use for the first time English 100% in your work environment? Was that a difficult transition at first, or did it come very naturally to you?
Uh, the nature of job which I was more into, I used to call up insurance. I mean the insurance reps to get the claim status. So I
Mm-hmm.
started practicing with them. I mean I used to call them more frequently to get a status of the claim. Even though if they used to give us a proper status, I used to call them back again just to improve my English.
Oh,
So
look at that. I love it.
so over a period of time, what happened is after 1 or 2 months, I started building my confidence, and then immediately I started implementing it on the floor. I can say when I talk to my colleagues or when I talk to my manager or superiors, I can see there's a huge difference. The way how I used to talk 2 months back and the way how I started, and after 2 months, how the difference was.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's
Yes,
incredible. That's incredible. You really took advantage of every opportunity you had,
yes,
even if it was uncomfortable. You know, like if I keep calling someone back just to like have an extra, go
yeah,
at English or try again, that could be embarrassing for people. They're like, no, I don't want to bother anyone. But you took the initiative and you're like, no, I'm going to do it as much as I can with my colleagues, with my friends, with whoever. And that
yes, yes.
definitely set you apart, I'm sure, from your other coworkers. So if you didn't have English today, what do you think would be different in your life? What would you be doing now compared to if you had never learned English? How would your life be different without it?
If there was no English, I can say I mean, there's no job for me. I can say there's no job. I mean, there is no job opportunity for me if I don't have English in my life. Unless and until you talk, the first thing for any person to crack an interview is English. I mean, you need to have proper English. You need to communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
English is the only language they use during the course of interview process. So if I don't have English, I don't have a job. I don't have the life what I'm leading now. So now I can say English had made a huge difference in my life, both in financial as well as the kind of respect what I get when I talk to people or when I give them suggestion. If I start giving suggestion in my regional language, people think that okay, this person knows only little and that's the reason he is using his local language. But when I talk to them in English in a proper and I can communicate them, the matter well, they respect me. The kind of respect what you get when you talk in English is far better. Uh, because when the reason why I'm saying this is I'm not trying to degrade the language what I'm speaking now,
Mm-hmm.
my mother tongue, but my mother tongue is limited to only one state or one region, whereas English is universal.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge opportunity if you talk a good English or if you communicate well, you have a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunities are wide open. People who talk in English and who communicate well.
Yeah, definitely. So you open up so many new doors for yourself by
Yes,
learning a common language. And I think those small native languages or regional languages around the world are so, so beautiful. And I never want people to forget how important they are. They're a part of our identity. It's like it's how you communicate
yes,
with your family, with your friends. But we are seeing
yes,
this change, especially in areas where there are a lot of small regional languages. That as
yes,
we have more internationalization and globalization in the world, it's necessary to find common ground in a way that did not exist years ago. So now there is this greater necessity for English language, and it's very interesting to see how there's like a social hierarchy that you have experienced from doing that. So do you find like your personal life is revolves around your native language, your mother tongue, and then your business and professional life is in English?
uh, mother tongue is Telugu and professional is more about English. So you see a lot of, as I said, the kind of opportunities what you get in English is far more better than the one what I'm speaking now, the current mother tongue. I'm not trying to degrade that, but as you said, that is the only option what I have. I mean, that is the only option I have. English is the only option everyone is having as of today. Out of 100 jobs that are posted online, I can say 100 are looking at people who communicate well.
Yeah, definitely.
When you, yeah,
Definitely. So there's a lot of advice out there about how to learn English or different English programs. But for someone like you who's actually experienced it, you've gone through the struggles, years and years of practice and hard work to overcome these challenges. What would be your best piece of advice to someone else that is also from India who wants to improve their English accent or their confidence and fluency, but they have no idea where to start?
um, what I can say is, at present there are a lot of tutorials I can say which are available online. How to pronounce a word, how to pronounce a letter. I mean, I can say we never had the opportunity to learn each and every letter when we were kids, but the entire syllabus or the entire structure has been changed now. So look at the YouTube, you get to see a lot of training materials that are available just to pronounce the word. The moment you start using that in your regular life, I'm sure it is not an easy journey, but somewhere we have to start it. You have to take that leap of faith and start, believing in yourself and start working on the communication. One best thing is talk to yourself at least half an hour a day. Go stand, in front of your mirror and start talking to yourself. Open your mouth, say as much as possible, even though it is not correct. Start using it. Initially, you may see a difference, and I want everyone to record what they're talking. Okay, you talk to yourself in front of mirror, you record it, and the moment you start listening to it, you will understand where exactly you have gone wrong. And next day, make a note of those mistakes and start correcting them or rectifying them, and then you can see a huge difference.
Yeah. Thank you. Yogi, you touched on so many really important points. So everyone go talk to yourselves today. After this video is over, go talk to yourself in the mirror for half an hour. I don't care how silly or weird it seems. Go talk to yourself. And it is so true that the grammar is not what's most important. The confidence
Yes.
that you convey in your communication and your level of fluency that you convey through being comfortable when speaking are so much more important than anything else. So I think the tips that you gave were great. There are lots of online materials that you can take advantage of to use. English Without Borders is one of them. If you're interested in joining our personal community, you can find the link to our Facebook community down in the description box below, where we give lots of free lessons, tips, videos. You tell us what you need, and we give it to you. So thank you so much, Yogi, for your collaboration today. It was amazing to talk to you, and I think you have taught so much to everyone that's watched this video. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kayla, and thanks a lot for all your initiatives you are doing to help the world how to speak English. I'm sure there would be a lot of people who are interested in learning English, but they don't know where to start. Or, I mean, a mentor like you will definitely help improve their English, and not only their English, their financial structure, because the more you communicate, the more you get an opportunity. Simple.
Exactly. Thank you, Yogi. You take a great initiative. So thank you for motivating me to keep helping other people. All right. So we'll talk to you soon, Yogi. Thank you so much for being here.
See you. Have a great